Okay.
Awesome. Thank
Okay,
you.
Tess,
Thanks,
see you there.
Tess.
Good morning. 9:04. It was Television Day declared
Yes, sir.
by then Governor
William Corbett,
back in 19.
56.
Wow. There you go.
65 years ago today.
That's crazy. And then we're also getting Jay. We're doing an interview about 65 years of KUAM.
Yeah,
and
that's coming
a
up
bunch
later.
on
Yeah.
the show.
And
Okay,
we're also
good.
going to let you guys know how you can fill the bus so that we can provide school supplies to needy kids. And Superintendent John Fernandez is in the KUM News Zoom room right now, and
Right.
he has his hands full trying to get kids ready for school as well.
He does. Good morning, John. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Where did the summer go, my friend?
Well, for the students, you got a few more days left, so take advantage of it. Yeah, thanks, guys. I know we were normally scheduled for Wednesday, but it's timely that we're doing it today because we are preparing ourselves to do a press conference at 1 o'clock for all media partners. And we want to use this as a back-to-school press conference to just go over and remind our employees as well as our students, our families about what's going to be what is going to be in place for the coming school year, and starting with the first day of classes next week on August 12th. So we'll take the opportunity this afternoon to go over those details. We know that over the last 18 months, there's been a lot of changes. There have been a lot of changes and, things going back and forth. And so even at this late stage, parents and students just want to confirm, what they might have seen or read or heard. And so we want to take another opportunity with about a week left, before school starts, to get that information out there. So we appreciate, your partnership in doing that. And I think what we're going to do today is we're doing a 1 o'clock session press conference today. And then we've also, through our schools and our PTOs, have set up 3 different parent sessions this evening at 6, being first. Saturday, the Lagu and Lucen districts will be the ones that will be tonight. We did one for all districts that will take place on Saturday and at 10 o'clock. Again via Zoom, and then we will do one on Tuesday next week for our Hadza and Katan districts. And of course, you're all welcome to join. It's just sometimes when we do the districts, we can at least gather those who might have similar interests and issues in the same conversation. So we will have that information, of course, on our GDOE Facebook page, and we look forward to using the press conference to give the overview of what's happening, and then if there are specific questions and issues that come up during our conversation with parents and students, then we look forward to being able to answer those questions. But ultimately, the big message is first day of classes, August 12th. That'll be the first day for both our online students, which we have about 15% of our students registered for online, and 85% of our students will be starting in person. The students are going to be attending classes 5 days a week. So that's the other question that we normally get. Is this going to be an alternating cohort? And the answer is no. It'll be almost like a regular school year. Every day is a day of instruction. The school hours will be the same as they were prior to the pandemic. So, school hours for elementary school was the start time is 8:30 in the morning. Middle schools will also start at 8:30. And then, of course, our high schools will start at the same times. We have, JFK, Tizen, Southern, and JP Torres starting at 6:45. And then George Washington, Ukudu, and Sanchez starting at 7:15. Buses will be the same. The bus operations will be in full gear for the start of the school year. And it's a new normal that we're creating. But as far as those basics, it'll feel like a normal school year. I think the biggest difference, of course, is going to be the health and safety measures that have to be enforced and complied with on the buses and at the school sites. And of course, those include a number. We're looking at 9 or 10 different requirements at the school site that teachers, staff, and students and visitors all have to comply with as part of our COVID-19 environment. So we'll go over those details. I'm happy to discuss any of those details here, but we will also be putting out a press release and having an opportunity with media partners at 1 o'clock to focus in on any areas that still might be of concern or question to the community.
Well, yeah, definitely. We're going to be streaming that Bust the Bell press conference for people, parents to know.
Is that what it's called?
Oh, no.
Well, that's cool.
No, just from Bust the Bell.
From Bust
Anyway,
the Bell, dude. Trademark Sabrina.
So parents and students know what to do and what to anticipate. Yeah, you just made me lose my train of
Sorry.
thought. What I was
Yeah. John, we heard from, I was talking with Vince Areola of DPW, and he said that DPW will also be at the press conference for to provide info on the busing schedule.
Right. We've been working with DPW, and we told them that, we don't have a conversation that goes too long without someone saying, well, what about buses, right? So I said, it's probably better for you to answer those questions than for me to do so. So Vince, I believe Vince and his deputy Linda will be in attendance to answer any questions that might come up. But we're happy to hear, they were able to get new buses, which has really been, a key issue with regard to the capacity for, to serve our students. So I believe they're up to about 140 buses. Basically, they had purchased buses over the pandemic to add to the fleet and are looking at purchasing more. So that's good news. And I think it gives them confidence that they'll be able to have enough buses on the road to address our students. Of course, the first couple of weeks is always a time where we need to monitor the traffic, the bus timing and, all of those issues. But, that's a normal school year. So we're ready to work with them to make the adjustments as needed.
I did want to follow up on the press release that came out regarding the PEBT distribution and just exactly what parents need to know, that because I saw you definitely need to register first, right? Right.
So, we're close partners with Public Health on this. Public Health is the lead agency, of course, so they do have ultimate, decision authority regarding the logistics, and so we've been putting our input in. So I just want to say that at the front end in case I don't have all the information, because I know that the plan, we've discussed the different types of plans, but I understand that they will be doing kind of an event date. So again, we're standing by to assist as needed. I heard that the first 3 days are already filled up.
Wow.
So I do anticipate a very high demand. We just want to make sure that the process, works, that we reach as many families as possible and that who are eligible, that they're able to take advantage. And then as we go into the first few days, if there need to be any changes or any additional, methods of distribution, we stand ready. And I told Arson Augustine, the director, that we were willing to help out just so long as our families are able to access those benefits.
Mm-hmm. The Joint Information Center, they pushed out another release last night on additional guidance for face-to-face operations from K to 12. Can you kind of help us understand what is the major difference and what kind of changes are we looking at?
Well, there were some, I think there were some discussions about some of the details. I think the biggest concern we had was the shift to 3-foot distancing in the classroom was something that we welcomed. And I think the component that was a little concerning to make sure we understood was the 6-foot distancing in the cafeteria and how that would impact our operations, because our schools are not all built the same. And we have, schools with very large cafeterias and some with very tiny cafeterias. So we were just getting some concerns about, what do we do in case, it becomes difficult to meet that requirement? Do we have to now keep students at home and do alternating cohorts and so forth? And it was something that was very important for us to discuss with Public Health, because number one, we are going to follow the rules. I mean, we're a public agency, so we follow public laws and public rules. So we didn't want any administrators out there creating their own systems and skirting the rules. We wanted to make sure they were aware of our concerns. So that was one reason that the guidance was amended. And the way it was amended was basically to reflect the the strategy that we've put in place since the beginning, which is what we call a layered safety strategy. It's the use of multiple safety strategies layered over each other to maximize the protection of the health and safety of our students and employees. So the idea is that in situations where you might not be able to fully meet one component, one strategy, that the other layers are able to be, modified in order to make up for, that area that may not be easy to meet. So for instance, if you're not able to meet the 6 foot distancing, what are the other measures in terms of your masking and where the students eat, how long they have to eat, all these other items that are in place. So recognizing that schools have different situations, what we said is that number one, just make sure that we assure ourselves and our community that all of these strategies are being implemented, and in the situations where schools may find it difficult to meet one of those strategies, that they be given the flexibility to use the remaining strategies to make up for that, and then we work with public health to ensure that modified plan is approved and is safe for that school. So it really is just a reiteration that we're not all working in cookie cutter facilities, and there has to be some common sense and some realization that we may need to adjust the strategies to make up for those particular needs at particular schools. So that's what we worked on. I was very glad to read the introduction to the guidelines, because that's something new, but I think that's something that needed to be communicated. Number one, safety is important, but at the same time, in-person learning is important for students from an academic, from a social, from an emotional health standpoint. I'm glad that statement was made, and I'm glad that they focus on the layered strategies, because sometimes we get into a conversation and someone says, well, we don't have 6 feet, that's 5.5 feet. Well, in reality, when we talk about strategies, vaccination is number one, face masks are number two, ventilation, keep your kids home when they're sick. All these other strategies are in place. So if you're talking about going from 6 feet to 5 feet, that shouldn't be a reason to keep your kids home, from school. So really putting these safety measures in context and recognizing that we're relying on multiple strategies to address the health needs at school.
Mm-hmm. We had the chairperson of the Physicians Advisory Group on our show earlier this week, Dr. Ho Win, and we also had some discussions with Chima about the possibility of mandating that GDOE staff, teachers, that they all be fully vaccinated. And I think we've had previous discussions where you've mentioned that you've got 80% or so, maybe even more by now, that are fully vaccinated. So have you been folded into any of those discussions, and is it needed at this point?
Yes, absolutely. We've been folded into that discussion. It really, I think this is a discussion that'll happen at a higher level, not just for teachers and staff, but for all frontline employees, especially employees who deal with vulnerable populations, right? So you could be talking about teachers and staff, you could be talking about police officers and firefighters, and then hospital workers. And I think there are certain categories of frontliners who, that may meet this special need to ensure that vaccination is in place. I haven't prioritized it myself because, we're close to 80% for our school employees, and we're going to continue to work voluntarily to get to that target. The only concern I have is kind of thinking about the future and whether or not these discovered variants, pose an additional threat, to the community, and whether 80% is enough, to really be assured of safety. So for now, we've said voluntarily, on a voluntary basis, we're close to that 80% mark. But if there is a concern that we have to go even further than that, then we're willing to participate in that conversation. And I do think it needs to come at the level of public health or the governor, to make that decision, and not an agency by agency determination.
Mm-hmm. There was something else that Dr. Wynn had mentioned, and that was that only 30% of children that are eligible to be vaccinated are vaccinated. and he was hoping to push some sort of an effort to hold these vaccination clinics specifically just for eligible children. Have you heard anything about that?
Yeah, first of all, I'm going to probably reach out to him and take a look at our numbers, because I've been tracking the numbers that are being circulated at Public Health as well. And so what I'm showing as far as this was maybe dated as it was July 23rd, but it looked like the 16 to 19-year-olds were at a 51% fully vaccinated situation. That was back on July 23rd. And that for the 12 to 15 year olds, they were at 34%. So my number's a little bit different, but and for that reason, I think there is progress being made, with the younger group. They just started later. So I think I do agree though that we need to push. It's been difficult for us to do that because they haven't been in school. But now that they're back in school, I think, one thing is make sure the information is gets around, make sure the opportunities are provided. And we're happy to think about, and we actually encourage a school-based approach, if possible, to help target those areas and communities where vaccination rates might be lower than the average on Guam. So we're in line with that, and we've worked with AMC, and Dr. Nguyen to do those efforts, in the past. So we're looking forward to being partners in that area going forward.
John, we just had a message in our inbox here. I'm at my kids' orientation for Enron Middle School. I think this is from the other day. And the principal just told everyone they don't have school supplies yet that they're supposed to give the students from the Fed funds GDOE is using. Apparently GDOE bought the supplies, but they said there's some kind of logistics problem where the company they bought hasn't been able to deliver all of them to all the districts. Some districts have, some don't. Enron Middle School doesn't have, so they're crossing their fingers that they get the school supplies before school starts.
Yeah, so there's a lot of supports coming in, and it's like a balancing act between telling people that things are coming in and then being able to commit to a certain date, because there are some things that occur where you're not able to do it on day one. But number one, the answer is that there definitely is support for school supplies that's been set aside, funded, and of course the effort now is to get them into the hands of the students. So we've got our eyes on that, and working with the schools to make sure that is made available. So we appreciate the eyes on the issue, and the parents letting us know what they're hearing as well, so that we can continue to push to make sure that all schools get their supplies and get them into the hands of the kids. Now, don't worry if it's not day one. We're gonna, but we're gonna definitely work to make sure that near the start of the school year, those supplies are made available. But we have different, you know how it is when you have your team. I always tell our folks, don't overpromise, because you start setting dates and times and don't meet it. Then of course you're going to get questions and concerns, and that's fair. But of course, we do know that they're on their way, or they're in, to get to the students. What I'm actually anticipating, and which is a reality for us, is that at the front end it might seem slow when we talk about procurement and all of that, right? And all the processes you have to go through to get the supplies and equipment here. And even as we go through the procurement process, we also run into issues with vendors. Are they on schedule? We just got word about shipping issues, shipping delays. So there's a lot on the front end that we have to work through. But once these supplies start coming in, I'm starting to see containers just arriving and going from our warehouse. And we're now looking at, a warehouse that we have to repeatedly clear and distribute. And then the minute it becomes open space, the next container arrives. So I have my staff focused on looking at, the plan for, receiving, storing, distributing all these supplies and goods that are going to be coming in with these federal funds. And that's another issue. So I told them, our school administrators, be patient, because once these things come in, the next thing we're going to hear is, where do we store these? How do we, distribute all of these? And that's going to be another operation that we need to be prepared for.
John,
so we thank everybody for checking in, and we do want to hear from our parents to make sure that on the ground level they're getting what they need to get. But be patient with us, because there's a lot coming through and a lot of details that need to be sorted out
Right.
in order for us to effectively get these supplies and equipment to the schools and to the families.
John, sorry, just last point. I think it was a comment we had earlier. So, when the kids go to school, they get the laundry list of the supplies that are needed. So how do parents kind of vet that against what school supplies the department is going to give, right? So you don't want to go out and buy like 10 composition
Right.
notebooks if you're just going to get them for free down the line.
So we'll bring that up to that this afternoon. I'm getting
Okay.
a lot of questions about school supplies, about teacher supplies and so forth.
Yeah.
And we're meeting with the principals later this afternoon to maybe answer some of those questions, because I'm sure in the orientations they're getting it. So let me give you an example. Teacher supplies, school supplies. Some families want to know if they're going to get the money, or they're going to get a voucher, or they're going to get the supplies, when and how many. So those types of things we need to clarify. I made a comment earlier that has spread like wildfire. I mentioned that we purchased washers and dryers for schools, and we've always had washers and dryers for our basic life skills classes, and so it's not a new thing. But we also plan to be able to use those equipment for families in need of those types of services. So I wanted to clarify, it's not really like a laundromat where you come in on the weekends and wash clothes, but it really is, through the work of our administrators, teachers, and our social workers. We know that there are families that are struggling with uniforms and trying to keep their uniforms clean. And when we identify those situations, we want to make sure the supports are there at school. So I wanted to just maybe provide some nuance before people start rushing down there on Saturday morning, get the first loads in. So, but we'll
So it's going to be first come, first serve, right, John?
Right.
First come, first serve to do your
You can
laundry.
drive through.
Curbside.
John, when you were talking about the school supplies, what about and equipment that's still coming in? What about those air ventilation systems? Are they in every classroom? Did you get everything?
No, the first thing one of the things that's really been the biggest push right now is because of our air conditioning situation, is making sure that the critical air conditioning issues are all addressed by the start of the school year. So we still have units being replaced even up to this point. The challenge was, given our local funding and all of our funding cuts, the past few years, we essentially ran out of money with our air conditioning contract back in April, and normally we would wait till October 1st when the new budget gets approved to move forward with the new contract. So over the summer, we had to address all of that and move, address the contract so that we could move federal funds in to support those efforts. And so we were able to do so with the federal funding to just address all of the working air conditioning needs, because there needs to be circulation in the classroom, and that's our priority. The HEPA filters, because there are so many commercial size HEPA filters that are being purchased, the bid is actually closing around the first day of school, and then they will start to come in as that process completes. So they will be available in all schools for the first day, but they will be coming in shortly after. And it's just because we're looking at a really high volume of units that have to be brought in.
Okay. So aircon repairs underway, and the HEPA filters are on their way.
Yeah, so those are actually published and ready to accept the bids. You have to go through a number of days and processes to get those things in. So we're doing what we can to continue to expedite those particular supports. But overall, I think, with regard to getting the classrooms ready, that's our focus. With the air conditioning, with the cleaning supplies, with the face masks, with all of the things that the school should have. I know that last year we had this interesting conversation where we were hearing from parents that teachers were saying there weren't enough supplies, face masks or other things. And so we really work to ensure that we're all communicating, because based on what we're tracking at the central office, there should be more than enough safety supplies at the schools. So it really depends on making sure that they're distributed in a way that the teachers and students feel comfortable that they have enough supplies to be able to operate safely. So definitely, that's something that has already been put in place in all schools.
All right.
All right, John. Looks like you don't have to do a press conference at 1. We already did it.
No.
Boom.
Oh yeah. Well, I think we were talking with staff that this is the time where redundancy is key. We just need people to hear the same information, and so they understand that this is what's happening. Because sure enough, by this afternoon, someone's going to call and say, what's the first day of class?
No, John. This afternoon they're gonna call. They're gonna call and be like,
Where's
"So
my-
wait, curbside pickup for laundry services on Saturday, right?" I'm gonna stop repeating that.
Yeah.
Yeah, stop.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. Thanks, John. Good luck today.
Yeah.
All right, thank you guys.
We'll see you.
All right.
There you go.
So yeah, we'll be carrying that press conference that GDOE is going to be having at 1 o'clock.
Yep, and be sure to separate your colors and your whites, guys.
So it's going to be an important press conference, and the good thing is if you miss it at 1, don't worry, you can always play it back later.
Or you can just watch the interview we just did with him.
Well, there'll probably be additional
course.
information, right, with the bus schedules
Right,
and things
yeah.
like that, because DPW will be there. And then for parents in the Lago and Luton district, there is a parent session where you get to, talk to GDOE leaders. That is tonight. It's the first one of a series. So